In this video, I'm going to explain the use of this applet. It will be divided into two main parts. The first part is about the explanations of interest in general and the concept of simple interest. And in the middle, we'll have a key question for the student to think about the possible alternatives in depositing money in the bank in order to prompt the thinking about another model, which is the compound interest. Okay, and let's look at the first part. Okay, you can see that you can set the principal and the annual rate above, and this will be shown in this rectangular bar here. Okay, and you can drag it along this line, and the box here may represent the amounts in 1 year, okay, based on the principals and the annual rates. You can also change the yellow bar in order to indicate the change in length of time. For example, here we are talking about 3 years. So after 3 years, the total will be 13,000. Okay, and you can move it up and down to see any number of years or fractional amount as well. And this will give the students a basic idea that the total amount and also the interest varies basically according to the annual rate, which define what happens in 1 year, as well as the total length in time in the number of years. Okay, and so they will also see the details here in this box showing the calculation. Right, for example, this is the principal adding 30% of the principal, right, to get the total amount. Now, if you go back to 1 year, it will show that it's 10% of the original added to the number here. And in another term, you can also convert it to a factor, okay, which is a 110%. Particularly, and we will highlight that it is simpler to view it this way. And also this 110% come from 1 plus 10%, okay, in the usual formula. But it may be easier to describe it as 110% of the original value. Similarly, if you move it up to half year, then what you get is only 105% of the original value, right? So you can try it out for differently. And so in doing so, we can emphasize that the simple interest, okay, is just a particular percentage of the principal based on the annual rate and also the length of time. Okay, that means the number of years in this picture. Okay, now assume the student understand this principle and also this the way of calculating simple interest. Okay, and we can pose a key question for the student in the next stage. Okay, to ask them what can we do in our way of depositing the money in the bank so that we can get a sum greater than this $13,000. Okay, suppose we still want to put it here in a total of 3 years. Would there be other ways of saving and withdrawing, okay, in between that may make the totals greater? It may not be obvious to the student, but it's good to have a try or to let them to guess what may happen or to think about what this model implies in general. Right? And then we can offer a suggestions to let them discuss and analyze. Okay, so let's see if we just put it in the bank, the 10,000 here in the bank for 1 year, and get a particular sum, and then we withdraw it, and then put it into the bank again. Okay, so what will happen to the sum? Okay, and what would you think at the end you will get? Okay, after 3 years, if you do it once a year in this way, all right, taking out the money from the bank and then deposit it immediately again. Okay, so do you think the total will be different? Now this will open up new questions and lead to the consideration later on about the compound interest, right? But still we are working on the very simple ideas of the simple interest, right? But just artificially thinking that you are withdrawing the money and then deposit it again, and then to see what will happen, right? Of course, in between they have to analyze carefully why these amounts will change in this way, right? We already written the amounts, right, at the end of this year here. But the point is, how do they know whether this is correct or how to get this number. So we can show the details here again, okay, showing that it is just 10% of the original, and then that's why in the first year you have 11,000. And how about in the second year? Okay, would they notice that the principal in the bank is now changed? It's not 10,000 anymore. Okay, and then the total will also be changed. Okay, similar to before, you can also turn it into a factor. Okay, later on you may want to emphasize that they are just simply multiplying constantly by the same factor each year. Okay, but it results in a very different amount at the end. Right? So this is one way we can talk about it, or maybe open up to the ideas of compounding interest. Of course, we can still put them together and let them know that this is actually what may happen in the bank, okay? That in case they give you the interest after each year, okay? And so this will give you a kind of progression and also successive growth in this 3 years, which is different from what we get from the simple interest. Okay, and this is one way to compare it. And furthermore, if you can follow this line, okay, and then try to adjust the weight of a saving, you can even ask what will happen if you withdraw and deposit the money after each half years, okay, what will happen? And so it can also be shown in a similar way, the result in this table. Right? Now we have 6 successive periods of half year, and ask the student to figure out what happened to each half year. How would they describe each change? All right. So this is a very important process to let the student focus on the changes in each successive half year, either describing as addition of a particular amount or as a multiple. Okay, as a change by factor. Okay, so make sure they understand why it can be described in this way and how the numbers will be different from what you get from the simple interest. All right, so that is the way that we can further visualize. Now, so this can be quite easily adjust to obtain different kind of example in this environment. You can also go back to the principles to make a difference among at the beginning, or even different annual rates, okay, to compare also the result, or to ask the student to work out the differences here. And or you can also work out in a quarter of years, okay, and you may have to adjust the table in this figure in order to show more. Okay. Okay. Or you may change the scale in this direction so that more years can be shown along this line. Okay. So in this case, you are having maybe 5 years periods, right, and seeing the changes successively and put it into one table. Okay. Okay, so this is what you can do with this applet. I hope that you will find it useful and explore further use of this applet for the explanation or discussions about the simple and compound interest with your students.